2019 Australian Prototype Series Race 2 for the weekend. We're about to get underway. It is John Paul Drake leading Dave Barham. Laskarastos, our Greek competitor here this week. Glenn Stahlbaum looking right round the outside, but it's John Paul Drake who's going to chase David Barham down into turn one. There's Mark Lauke returning after he was dive bombed yesterday. Carmelo Bonaventura not taking any part in this one, not taking the grid. So he will be out for this one. Damage yesterday's racing. There's the Melbourne-based expat Englishman, Phil Hughes. It's in the mid-pack there. Phil, very, very happy with his SR3 Radical here this weekend. Doing a strong job. It's the oldest of the type in the Radical field. And certainly the Radicals just finding it a little bit tough with this fair weather we're having here in South Australia here this weekend. Certainly in this field they do a very strong job when it becomes inclement and wet, as Mark Lauke is starting to storm on through with this field. He's trying to set himself up very nicely indeed. Laskarastos, the Greek man right there in the number 8, being helped out this weekend by Jam Motorsports. So impressed with the Australian motorsports scene and the camaraderie that he's felt joining this field, and was very complimentary as to how the Australian Series has won. And it's just sort of a bit of a toe in the water, and certainly Jam Motorsport locally run here, in fact on track in one of the garages just out the back of the paddock area. Aaron Noonan has just joined me, Darren Smith, for the start, the opening lap of this 19-lap race for the Australian Prototype Series.
And this is the car that we really need to keep a watch on. Lauke making a move down the inside to get by John Paul Drake, and there's contact. Oh, no. It has not been a great weekend. The winner yesterday, Drake. Lauke, the pole man from yesterday. They've come together, and for the second day in a row, there is dramas for car 55 to the back of the field. Now, the question is, what's the damage
Drake
like?
Leaving a trail of water there too.
Yeah.
That will be terminal.
There he is.
John Paul Drake in the 66 there, the bright orange. Let's hope that maybe that was just something he dragged on from off the track there, but certainly not losing fluid like that's not going to see the end of the race.
And that car looks to have a timing transponder issue because it's not appearing on our timing screen, but he is third in the race. Dave Barham leads the way. 19 laps this one, the final race of the season. Here's Phil Hughes under fire from Ian Eldridge. Loved the variety of the Australian Prototype Series. We talked about it yesterday, and we're getting it again here today. Final race of the season. It's the 5th and final round for the Australian Prototype Series as part of the Shannons Nationals. And this is Drake having a big fight with Nguib, who is through. Now, is the Drake car damaged because he's not making pace that he should be, and he's dropping back? So that contact with Lauke has caused major dramas for the winner yesterday of race 1, and he was in the back of shot there, Darren, so he's got huge problems.
Well, this is really interesting championship-wise, because Dave Barham is actually in the box seat, but there were so many starting to line up that could join him, and one of them was John Paul Drake. In fact, he had bobbed himself right up into contention for this title, and, well, at the best of knowledge at the moment, JP is not going to take any further part, but here's a terrific battle going on in the mid-pack with Hughes and Ian Eldridge. Ian Eldridge, of course, used to driving a massive 600 horsepower Tirana in improved production, and you'd have to say this is the diametrically opposed kind of race car.
You could not find a more different race car.
Absolutely. One's like a big brick, big horsepower pushing through the air. This is like a nimble aerodynamic machine compared to it. But it was interesting just watching, had some of the interviews back yesterday with both Ian and Michael Nguib, who's actually up to 4th place, both in Wests, which are the cars that dominated this series going back 2, 3, 4 years ago. And those very experienced racers jumping behind the wheel of these things, just getting themselves used to it. So we'll go down to the lane with Cam Vanderduncan.
Guys, just wanted to follow up from that S5000 race. Anton De Pasquale wasn't able to get below the 44s when he was out there, but have a look at this. The front wing end plate has gone missing. That actually happened with contact with Tom Randall early on in the race. No longer there, means no front end grip, and Anton De Pasquale had a struggle throughout that race, but hopefully we'll see more from him in the feature later today.
Cameron, please give that end wing back. They will need that for the feature race this afternoon. No souvenir hunting, no autographs, no eBay. Give it back.
See that? There's the little Cameron coming out. I'm going to souvenir that end plate.
Yeah, we lost
back to the race.
we lost the camera shot as he gave it back. Now
Back
we need
to
to get
the
the next camera shot to make sure it didn't go and
Got into the right
re-receive
hands.
it.
That's right. Yeah, nice little bit of carbon Painter and Dixon up on the wall in the shed at home. So this is the number 99, Glenn Stahlbaum, just this weekend jumped in to the Wolf, and he is now finding himself into second place. He's been a West competitor, and as you touched on yesterday, Aaron, this livery, a beautiful nod to the Wolf Formula One livery that was run throughout the 1970s.
Now, remember yesterday, we're looking at race leader Dave Barham in the 46 car, the Shannons chassis. I was cheerleading hard yesterday because he got a long way behind. He closed the margin, 12 seconds at some stage there, and it got it down to 1 pretty much at the last lap, but ran out of laps. The fighter in this race is Mark Lauke. He's position 6. He's the fastest car on the road. He's 14.9 seconds off the lead. He will pop onto your screen in the back of shot, the fluoro yellow, and he's making moves. Nguib's next on the list. Got him. P4, 16 laps to go. New fastest lap of the race for him, 1 minute 50.8, 14 seconds to the lead, 16 laps to run. The maths are like yesterday. He could get back and contend to win this race.
The interesting thing, though, Mark Lauke now running the turbocharged Wolf for 5-6 seasons. He ran the West, and they're the cars that he's got to get through on right now. He's a good mate, Carmelo Bonaventura, one of the best guys in the pit and paddock area at any race meeting. A terrific fella. Had a really tough race at the weekend at Winton. There goes Smith off there in the 78, and that is the old Jason Macris West, as we get an update from Emma in the lane.
Yeah, just down at TCR land, catching up with Jordan Cox, and you thought you had no pace this weekend, but finished 5th yesterday. Pretty happy with that result?
Yeah, no, very happy. No, we sort of started the weekend on the back foot. Had some issues Fridays. We only got 2 laps in to get a feel for the car, and we didn't really nail it yesterday. So we sort of raced our way to 5th, which was it's always good, not bad. So we made some changes overnight, so we'll box on from there.
Yeah. A podium, 4 rounds, some pretty good results. Overall, you were happy with how you did 2019?
Yeah, very happy. Yeah, I was just glad to be here. Like, this is my first year in a national championship. I've never come from club racing and whatnot. It's been sort of been a bit different. A great learning experience, but next year I think if I do a full championship, that'll be put me in a better position. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks, John. Good luck today.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Just briefly touching on Jason Macris, who was to be in this round in his Wolf Tornado, came down here, did an engine on Friday, and has promptly returned home and spending the weekend watching us on the live stream. Big g'day to Jace. He'll hand the number 1 plate back this weekend, and we just hark back to the end of last season. It was Jason Macris to Mark Lauke, Phil Hughes and John Paul Drake, and unfortunately JP will only move 1 further step up in the championship.
Lauke watch continues. New fastest lap of the race, Daz, 1:48.38. That is faster than anyone on the track by 4 seconds in the motor race. 9.4 seconds is the margin to the lead. I hope I haven't jinxed him by going on this mission here. Here's Phil Hughes. He runs P7. Ian Eldridge behind. P8. That ain't a Tirana, that's for sure.
That's certainly not a Tirana, but there's 2, as I said, 2 improved production guys. One guy runs a Datsun 1600. That's Michael Nguib right there in the number 83. He's loving his time in the prototypes. Questioned him yesterday. He said, oh yeah, still going to run the Datto, but this is just something completely different. But Ian Eldridge was like, oh man, tell you what, it's different to a Tirana. You've got a 47-inch steering wheel you've got to drive around this thing like a little nimble race car.
Very precise, a prototype. 15 laps to go, final race of the season. Hope you're enjoying all the action on the Shannons Nationals. Our live streaming coverage, plenty more today. A couple of TCR races, S5000 feature race, some more production cars, and this is the final race of the 5th round. And Phil Hughes here is keeping the pressure on Nguib, who got by a little earlier. Bonaventura's just in front in the Radical, so 3 completely different cars in the 1 camera shot.
Yeah, and the difference is the last one and the first one are both Radicals, but this one we're looking at now, this is version 1, and the one in front is the SRX, which is the latest edition that Carmelo Bonaventura, and he's been using it exclusively in the Australian Prototype Series right throughout this year, so doing a good job. As I said, there's some really, have a look at that, Mark Lauke leaving some number 11s. That's what we like to see.
He just got past Lascarotos for P3.
Talking about the number 11s, how's the grid after the S5000?
There's a few there.
There's a few number 11s.
There's probably about 11,111, to be honest.
That's it, but here's a great battle. This is really strong, this battle. This is for a couple of different classes. Of course, the car out in front is for P1, And Mark Lauke is also in P1 Prototype 1. They're going to fan out 3 wide, but it's Michael Nguib. Boy, the West, it really just has no
Phil
frontal
Hughes,
area. And
round the outside, if you don't mind.
Carmelo Bonaventura, got a race car driver's name, loses 2 spots in 1 straight. And have a look at the Radical starting to climb all the back over the back of the West. But that frontal area that we see on the West is so low, and it just gets through the air, and that's what holds up the Radical getting through the air. And what the Wolves do to overcome that is just bring more horsepower along for the ride.
Under brakes, so look at that Radical. It's back on him down the inside, making a move. Now the West gets cranking again, holds the line. Good fight. 2 very different types of cars, strong in different parts of the track. They're fighting for positions 5 and 6. I love this bit. The right that brings them around there. You've got to really get the car balanced. But just when you think, oh, any more rights? Nah, left. Change it up a bit.
Really is about setting your car up for changing direction. That part of the track down there, that's for sure. It's interesting stuff. I mentioned that there's some improved production races now in prototypes. The improved production guys are racing at Baskerville this weekend for their nationals.
Is it Baskerville or Baskerville? Depends where
you're from. Hobart, Launceston.
Yeah, true.
Depends which way you go. And I'll probably change the way I pronounce it because I'm from Victoria at any given time. But certainly interesting the way improved production go racing. It can be door handle to door handle, mirror ripping off type stuff. You don't want to do that in these cars. They tear bits and pieces of bodywork off, which are vital. Every single part of the bodywork in these cars is about designing how the air gets over and or under the car.
Hughes is keeping the pressure on. Lauke's putting the pressure on the leader, David Barham. The margin's down to 2.38 seconds. He has absolutely munched into the margin. I thought he was going to use all of this race to get there, but he's got there already. 13 laps to go. End of the front straight. The West just gets away from the Radical, but watch it under brakes. Phil Hughes makes plenty of margin and gets right up onto the back again of car 83.
Can you imagine how many times in Phil Hughes' career he's barked down the radio to driver, stay with him, stay with him. You've got the better car, you can get past. Now he's barking at himself. He's coaching himself along, going, come on, Phil, let's go. Big g'day to Phil's wife and kids back home in Melbourne. Hope you're enjoying watching Dad going about having some fun in his number 42 out there, and very interesting if you get close up to that car in the pits later on. He's got the wolf in the crosshairs on the right front headlight, and he's got that British Air Force banner on the left front headlight, so definitely doing it. That's a swap for the lead.
Yep, Lauke's got him. So Mark Lauke, after that contact earlier on, has fought his way back through the field to take the lead. So yesterday he qualified on pole position, got wiped out of the race, started from the back for this one, moved forward a little bit, then had a drone and went off. It's been the weekend of fightbacks for this car, but he's fought right back within, what are we on, lap 7, and he's got his way back to the lead. Stunning stuff.
Mark Lauke's ability to strike back at adversity is amazing. He puts that downfall just to one side, forgets about it. We've got to get on. I've got 13 laps to get back in the lead of this race, and in fact, he did it in 5.
No.
Stop challenging yourself.
This is a challenge he doesn't need to give himself. Now he spins. He'll re-spin the car trying to rejoin at the final corner. He had got his way back to the lead. We'd just been pumping it up about what a great job he's done. And now he's got to fight back again.
This is unfortunate trademark of his season 2019. And there's Carmelo Bonaventura. He had engine issues at Winton, and they're looking back at the engine now. The east-west lying Suzuki Hayabusa power plant mounted just behind his shoulders. So David Barham back in the race lead. Mark Lauke coming on board with the turbo car this year, and he's taken some time to get used to it. And early on in the season was punctuated by these spins. And here's David Barham coming onto the straight. This will be Mark Lauke backing it off there. And he's found his way through, what is it, a Shannons insurance or a car sales sign as he's come onto the straight there.
Whatever it was, the operative word is was.
Yeah, it's gone.
This is a good fight. This has probably been the best fight of the race because it's been going the whole time between Nguib and Hughes. This is probably as far apart as they've been so far in the fight for position 5 and 6. We're on lap 8 in this final race of the Australian Prototype Series. Let's jump back into the lane with Emma Francesco.
disappointed not being behind the wheel this weekend, but a very important job you have. What a place to work at.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a shame that I'm not out there, but obviously when we have an event as major as this, I've got to be on the ground working here at the Bend, but world-class facility here, and it's just awesome to work here.
Hey, world-class facility and world-class racing with this category. What is it that you love so much about this category in particular?
Look, there's a lot of different cars out there, different manufacturers, strengths and weaknesses, so that's what really appeals, you know, to a category like this. You can have a big budget, a small budget, it sort of evens its way out. So, yeah, it's just really good racing, and at the end of the day, these cars are fast.
Thanks, Paul. Can you organise me a bit of a later checkout, if possible?
I'll try and do that.
Thanks.
We saw Paul Trengove in action earlier in the year in the Australian Prototype Series. Hughes is in action here. Have a look how close he was to the back on the run down the hill, and the grip knows it, covers the inside line, is going to make the Radical go the long way. Now he's lost it in front. Oh, and Hughes has to stop completely. Eldridge makes it around. Hughes, I think there was small contact there.
That's a shame. It's getting past there, and the Gwib's gone round and he's stalled it.
Yep.
The mechanical package of this car is that it's a 998cc motorcycle engine, chain drive, so they can be very difficult to engage any sort of gear, and if you stall it, they're very difficult to get going again.
And Hughes is, because he did nothing wrong there, but he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, following so closely that it cut off the option to go left or right. Eldridge goes around them both to grab position number 5.
I tell you what, Eldridge now puts him into P5. He was down there starting the race in 6. He went backwards, and now he's doing a Mark Lauke and fighting back in the now global logistics outfit.
In every race that I've been involved with in this series over the course of the year, and we did Queensland Raceway together, someone, somewhere, somehow has had to have a fight-back mission in the race, and generally, though, they've succeeded
They've
at
done
it.
well with
They've
it,
actually done it. Barham leads the way. Margin's 1.4 seconds to Stallbomb, who's just behind in camera shot in the Wolf. You saw him just there in the black and gold car. Lascaratos is P3. Lauke is P4. He's 18 seconds off the lead and is not making the sort of margin he did before, and the Gwib has come to pit lane after that spin. This
is a really interesting comeback for Dave Barham in more ways than one. He had a smash in this car a couple of weeks ago and basically has burnt the midnight oil getting here to rebuild the car, get it all back together. And his first session out, the whole rear cowling flew off the car, so he's had to re-engineer that. So a tough weekend, and I guess a just reward as we go back down to pit lane.
Thanks, Darren. I've got James Allen, one of our drivers debuting in TCR, the Car Sale TCR Series this weekend. James, better known for European Le Mans racing in LMP2 class. This is a huge task ahead of you today.
Yeah, I was thinking the only way you could make this car more backwards than what I'm used to is probably put the turning wheels on the rear. So it's definitely been a big learning curve to get my head around the car, and I'm still learning at the moment, but it's been really fun. Like the back end moves around a lot, so it's kind of feel like you're dancing on a knife edge. It's really good.
You've also spent a great deal of time working with Aero as well, so this is another transition. No front downforce like you'd be used to, I'd imagine.
No, definitely not. I mean, I can really throw the car around in LMP2. This I have to be a lot smoother, a lot more careful with it. But it's been a real challenge, but it's been fun.
A lot of people don't know as well that you're quite a prolific sim racer as well in your own right. I've called a win for you in a couple of things over the journey. Have you been able to do any sim work on a TCR?
Not really, no. I was in Portugal 2 weeks ago racing LMP2, and I've come straight from there to here, and I had one test day at Winton, and that's really been it.
Just heard from Baz Hay before, just having a chat about how you've been progressing. He was just talking about trying to get you to dial out of that focus on really leaning on the front end, but he's been impressive. Been impressed with your driving so far. Do you feel like you've achieved what you want to so far?
I was surprised early on. I think maybe now that I'm sort of starting to get used to the car, I'd like to move up a bit more than what I am right now. But no, it's been. I knew I was going to be in for a challenge, and that's what it's given me. So it's been good.
Well, good luck today in races 2 and 3.
Thank you so much.
Interesting thing off the back of that, Aaron, for James Allen. I'm just going to divert for a second. Putting the turning wheels on the back, there's something for a young entrepreneur. Forklift racing.
I like it.
We're back with the Prototype Series on track now. Dave Barham really being hunted down by the rookie. He's really hunting him down, and the veteran in the back of shot. Here he comes. Mark Lauke filling the screens. Magenta sectors on the timing screen as well.
And he's just set a 1 minute 48.75. He is 3 to 4 seconds faster than the top three. 9 laps left to go. Margin to the lead is 14.72 seconds. I'm backing him. I reckon he can get there.
I tell you what, couldn't happen to a nicer bloke. In fact, Mark Lauke is a tremendous fellow. I've said it enough times this year. Let's just watch the guy go about his racing. Tremendous racer. He puts that adversity to one side and then just goes and sets lap records in the next 3 laps, chasing the field back down at the moment. I would suspect Dave Barron's eyes are starting to fill up with tears with 9 laps still to go, because he came out, had a ripping first round at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's been tough. He got dive bombed at QR. He's had testing incident, as I was alluding to before we went down to the lane, and rebuilding the car. He hadn't rebuilt the car in about 11 years of racing, and this year he's rebuilt it 3 times.
Yeah, that's never good fun, but at least he's on target here to get a reward for all that effort. And with the series on the line, how do the numbers stack up here of who's going to be where with the trophies at the end of all of this?
Well, Dave Barham at the moment is out and out box seat, that's for sure. John Paul Drake was certainly in there, and at the moment his lap chart says 1 lap, so that rules him out. In fact, they were so close at the start of this race, it wasn't funny. I would suggest that it's Dave Barham at the moment. Mark Lauke has got to do some pretty miraculous work, and Dave Barham have a pretty horrendous remaining 9 laps. So let's, at the moment, I actually don't have the points at hand renewed overnight, but certainly very, very close.
Barham in the box seat for this one. He completes lap 11. We're looking at Mark Lauke, position 4. Gap to the lead, 11.23 seconds. He's in the 48s. The leaders are in the 51s and 52s. There is 8 laps to go. There is damn time, Darren. He can get there and win this race, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Imagine how far he'd be out in front if he hadn't spun off once or twice.
Let's not talk about that.
Making it entertaining, that's for sure.
It is, and he's been entertaining. Here's car 8 on the road, been in P3 since the 2nd lap of the race, and really enjoying his stay here in South Australia. Andreas Lascaratos, Greek national, and he's driving the Wolf GB08GN, so it's the normally aspirated version of the car that's chasing him down from behind the very brightly coloured Lauke Flour Mills entry. The Honda power plant, of course, the Peugeot turbocharged engine behind Mark Lauke's shoulders, and this the very low slung, normally aspirated version. John Paul Drake, of course, has been campaigning one right throughout the year, except for the last round where Jason Macris allowed him to drive the Tornado. Took a little bit of time of getting used to, but the idea behind that was to try and close the gap for JP, because Jason was all but out for the year. He saw the last round at the bend and went, nah, I'm going to have one more go. I'm going to have one more go. I've got it sitting in the shed. I'm going to go racing. And unfortunately, it really did come to naught in the end. So it's a real shame for Jason that he couldn't be here when the number 1 plate gets handed over to the champion for 2019.
And one car that we had yesterday that we don't have today is Daniel Gonzalez, who was challenging. Well, he was challenging for 2nd, not for the lead down at turn 1, and ended up making some contact with Mark Lauke in that car, not returning to the track for this final race of the season. Barham completes lap 12, 3 seconds the margin to Glenn Stolbom. And then the margin there, Stolbom's coming over the hill. Lauke now going for 3rd, and Lascaratos moves him to the inside. It was probably futile, because the pace of Lauke, he was always going to get past. It wasn't really worth going to that sort of effort to show him the right-hand side of the pit straight here at the bend.
Certainly left the Jag to the defensive straight line move to very late there, and Mark really did have to give a bigger jag of the wheel to avoid any contact coming through there. The turbocharged car was always going to be the better weapon in the straight line, and that is exactly how it played out in the end there. So Mark Lauke, as Aaron Noonan has been on, Lauke Watch. You might want to register that website.
Well, he's just set the fastest first sector of the race.
Andreas slowing. Number 8. Slowing coming out of turn 7. Back up to speed now. Did slow, didn't he? Jagged up a little bit there. He's back underway again. And the gap to Lauke has certainly moved out. So, yeah, definitely bobbled there for a minute. May have missed a gear or got a handful of neutrals or something like that. But Mark Lauke's charge continues. It's 5.71 to Dave Barham. Dave Barham's certainly not setting the timesheets on a light. Last lap round a 1:16. So he's not actually running the pace that he was earlier on in the weekend. And touched on earlier the different mechanical packages. That Chiron out in front is a 2-litre car driven through a gearbox. The Wests are nearly 1,000 cc's, running a chain drive like a motorcycle type, wet clutch type of arrangement. And then the Wolfsy, a traditional sports car type of arrangement, power plant gearbox. The Radicals being the Hayabusa 1500cc motorcycle engine through a Quaife gearbox and transaction type of a setup. So everyone has the same set of rules to build the car by, as we see Mark Lauke now move into P2. Glenn Starbaum just drifting wide, allowing Mark charging through clearly there into the lead. I guess that's the good thing about having a bright yellow front of your car. The mirrors get filled up pretty quick, don't they?
Yeah, there was no reason really to fight there. He knew that car was coming and coming quickly. Now the gap is 4.5 seconds for Mark Lauke on board this 55 car, putting a lap there on Sue Hughes. And the hunt for Barham begins again. Sounds like the hunt for Red October there, but he's had to do this a couple of times. He's got time, he's got laps, and he's got speed. He's got all the things he needs. The thing he needs to do is keep it on the track and bring it on home in this final race. It's a 2-race weekend for the Australian Prototype Series.
Big g'day to John Collins, Sir Hughes' son, Australian Formula 3 champion. Hope you picked up the phone to the appropriate people, Tom, and spoken to some S5000 people, because he'd be pretty handy behind the wheel of an S5000.
A few more cars coming for next year too.
Yeah, seen a couple of F3 graduates going into those cars. Timmy Macro and James Winslow joining us here this weekend. So certainly a pedigree well worthwhile seeing in that category.
Here's the leader, David Barham, on his way towards the final turn of this, the 14th lap of 19. We have gone 26 minutes of racing here at the Bend Motorsport Park. It was a little overcast earlier on, but we've got much more sun piercing through. The UV has come up, and that is the fight for the lead. That is the margin. Lauke just set a new fastest lap of the race, 1:48.3. He was 3.5 seconds faster on the last lap around there. The margin's 1.6. It's just a matter of time before he grabs the lead again. And no, you are not watching a replay. He has had to fight through before. He's had to fight through from a spin, and he's done it all over again.
I tell you what, they've signed up again to run with the Shannons Nationals in 2020, the Australian Prototype Series, really a burgeoning series. There's been some fantastic racing. I guess the diversity of cars, the Chiron, it's the only one in the pack. It's an older car. It's leading the race for the time being. Mark Lauke, boy, what a weekend really for Mark Lauke. The comeback.
Which
the
one?
Return, yeah. Which one do we want to document the most? It's certainly a ripping show here that this guy has put on. And get out to the paddock at some point in time, and he's gone through. Barham moved over.
Wow,
he wasn't going to be able to match the pace, was he?
No, he knew the deal. So bring it home, grab those points.
Now this has actually really confused me, because now that Mark Lauke is back in front and Dave Barham's second, the maths gets a lot more difficult, and I'm going to have to diverge to those that do the points at Jacintas and probably catch up later on in the day with how it actually played out.
Well, it's 46 points between them now for the weekend, because Lauke scored a point for pole, didn't he? So he gets 0 yesterday.
And there was 6 in it. So
yeah, so he's going to pick up 54. Barham finishing second will get 100 for the weekend. He'll top the points for the weekend. This is a really interesting scenario, but Barham's looking pretty good.
Mark Lauke back in the lead of the race, dropped back to 7th. Fought hard, got back now into the lead of the race. The number 55 leading this field with 4 laps to go. Dave Barham in P2. Let's have a look at the rest of the field. Both Barham and Stylebomb were very gentlemanly in letting Mark Lauke through. There was no point putting up the fight. This guy put up a bit of a fight, Andreas Liskaratos. He bobbled a lap or two ago. It looked like he had any forward momentum, but he certainly made it a point to Mark Lauke that I'm not just going to let you through. He's now racing for 4th place. Ian Eldridge in the west, who was strong early, having a battle with Phil Hughes. So he's made his way back in front of Phil Hughes after that spin. And it's John Grant, Sue Hughes, and the Grip and Bonaventura not taking any further part, neither Smith, Drake or Yasser Shahin in this race. So we've got 8 cars left on track. There's the number 32 of Sue Hughes in the Radical, streaming around the bend of Motorsport Park down to turn 6.
I have the calculator out there, Darren. Coming into the weekend, Dave Barham led the way by a handful of points according to the Australian Prototype Series Championship leaderboard following round 4. We are in round 5, are we not, my
Correct,
friend?
yes.
So Barham came in 3 points up on Gonzalez. Gonzalez will score nothing from this one because he's not out there, and scored nothing from yesterday's either. So Barham, with 100 points for the weekend, is going to win this thing overall. John Paul Drake came in 3rd on the weekend at 334, but he's out of this one. So he will pick up some points that push him up there, but not far enough. Mark Lauke's going to pick up a handful from this one, but bombed yesterday. So Barham's the man, as long as he brings it on home here.
Looking at the number 51 now in 7th place, John Grant. Running with his partner as well. They've had 2 Radicals. They're sharing this car throughout this weekend. Looks the part, the latest iteration out of the Radical factories in the UK. Of course, they run one make series around the world as well for those cars, but here in the Australian Prototype Series they have their own class, which is really strong. We've got a number of Radicals in the field. Currently the leader in the Radical Cup is Phil Hughes over Grant, over Sue Hughes, and absolutely no relation. I suppose there'd be some DNA shared somewhere back in history, but when you say Hughes and Hughes, they're not family. They are friends, they are buddies, like they are all in the prototype field. In fact, I'm often amazed at how the camaraderie in this field, in the paddock area, is very strong.
Well, I guess the link there is the Pro Car Series. Phil Hughes worked in the Pro Car Series with Prancing Horse, and Sue raced in the Pro Car Series
right,
in body cars and the like. So
that's a good
there you go.
one. Well done, Aaron. There you
link.
go.
Yeah, you like that?
I do. I like what you've done there.
Hey, Lauke is backed off the pace, mate. 3.36 seconds is the lead. He's got this one under control. Couple of laps to go. It is nearly midday local time here in South Australia. We've been racing.
How's the casual glance at the mirror out of the corner
just
there?
To check.
Just making sure.
Check. Just to be sure.
I'm not sure what you'd be looking at. Is it a bit of body work or something? Is he just looking for a flash of orange?
As you said that point, we just saw a shot before of Barham's car. The left rear almost looked like there was something very small in terms of being loose, but nothing to be too perturbed about. And Lauke here, he's having a look at the mirror again there just to be sure of what's going on. There's no need to do anything silly here. He can absolutely bring this one on home to win the final race of the season.
Starting the penultimate lap. And Dave Barham, he has no answer. He even gentlemanly opened the door. And Dave Barham wouldn't have enjoyed that. He's a racer's racer, so just being told this is the last lap to go. So Mark Lauke could lead home the final race of the year, which has not been, to Mark Lauke's own standard, his high point. I guess winning 2 championships is the high point when he won in his West. Coming with the new car in the Wolf has been a tough ask, and the fact that Daniel Gonzalez is not out on track is certainly going to help that push forward. This guy started the year in a West, and I think he's found himself a very happy home in the Wolf here this weekend. First weekend, a bit of the fairing off the back there, or the overguard, bit of bodywork. It's a little bit loose there, so may have gone off at some point away from where we've seen it, but driving very nicely. Glenn's not featured on the podium, and here he is, first weekend in the black and gold liveried Wolf, and he's in 3rd place.
And the points overall, where he is running at the moment, P3, that'll give him 95 for the weekend and 2nd overall on points. So that's a big effort. Phil Hughes here has had a bit of an interesting race. He's P6. He lost his partner in crime, Nguib, earlier on when the West spun right in front of him, and he's had a pretty lonely race of it ever since. 6th place, 3 seconds away from the back of Ian Eldridge, but a fair way in front of the car chasing him.
He'd be happy to win the Radical Cup aspect of this weekend. So we've got a couple of different awards. There's the P1, there's the Hankook Cup, and then the Radical Cup as well. All the cars running on Hankooks, and he's the control tyre right across the field. So Phil may not be crossing the line first, but he'll feel like a big winner this weekend, bringing home the lead in the Radicals, in the oldest of the Radicals in the field. So you just know that this thing's been engineered to its absolute maximum. There'll be no millimetre not measured on this car. And there is the checkered flag, and it's gone to Mark Lauke. Takes out the final race for the Australian Prototype Series. He'll be celebrating Mark Lauke in his very humble way. Dave Barham home for a fighting second place. That car clearly not right under Dave in the last round, and certainly came to this round. He's very, very happy there. Look at that. He's celebrating because that's been a very big year. His first full-time commitment to the Prototype Series. He used to be a Queensland Raceway specialist. He committed to this year, and he'll be very, very happy indeed.
And he is the Australian Prototype Series champ for 2019. As the rest of the field rolls on through, Sue Hughes there in car 32 P8. Bill Hughes home in P6 behind Ian Eldridge. And that is it for the 5th and final round of the Australian Prototype Series. They'll be back with the Shannons Nationals next year, recapping the order. The result doesn't show how Mark Lauke did it, but the fact is in the history books he did it by 2.7 seconds over Dave Barham. Glenn Stolbaum, great job, P3. Andreas Leskaratos, the Greek driver in P4 from Ian Eldridge. Hughes, Grant Hughes-Nick, we've had dramas. And Bonaventura, the Radical, was in the lane and did not finish the race. Great job, Darren Smith. The Australian Prototype Series is done.